Bad Movie Crew. Bad Movie Crew.
And we are back with another edition of the Bad Movie Crew. As you know, I am your host, Neil, and I'm always joined by my brother from another mother, Mark.
Yep. What's going on, people? I am not in any persona today. I'm just regular me, just regular old me.
Yes, no more
Riddler.
that Riddler business. But yes, we are here with another edition of the Bad Movie Crew, and we're here to do another review.
But before we get into it, I have to put this in the public space. It was told to me. Well, I was reminded today that I had some questionable. I had a questionable feelings about Robert Pattinson in the Batman role, and I was reminded by an actual fan of his. One shout out Jacqueline Mahon. She reminded me that I had some doubts about how he would play Batman, and if you watched our last review, you can see that I think we both were in favor of his Batman. So,
Right.
Jax, I can see that he played a very good Batman. Look forward to more of his role, more of him in this role. Sorry, and yeah, I publicly admit it. We can still be on for the cigars and the drink. Just let me know the time and place. I am busy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he was gonna play good, but the man did it.
Yeah,
All right, so
yeah, but
what are we reviewing today, Mark?
we're in the Kingsman, which is a prequel to Kingsman and Kingsman. I can't. Oh, Kingsman Golden Circle. I think that was the second one.
Right. The first one was the Secret Service.
Right.
Right. As Mark said, we're reviewing the Kingsman. This is the Kingsman, Kingsman, the Secret Service was the first one.
Yeah.
The second one, I think that came out in 2014. Can't remember. I think the second one came out in 2017. That was the Kingsman. That was Kingsman, the Golden Circle. All of them are directed by Matthew Vaughn. Obviously, he did all the Kingsman movies. He's planning to do a fourth one, but he is also responsible for movies like Layer Cake, Stardust, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, some other X-Men movies. So, I mean, and he's written most of those too, if not all of those movies I mentioned. So he would have done like First Class. He would have dealt with the writing credits on some of these other movies, but particularly he is known for the Kingsman Service and the movies I just mentioned in terms of writing, directing, and producing. So he is very passionate about these movies. Along with that, he was always joined by often collaborator Ben Davis. He's the cinematographer. He is responsible for Kick-Ass, Hannibal Rising, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, The Eternals. This is the third movie that he and Matthew Vaughn, would have collaborated on. This, of course, is based on The Secret Service by Mark Miller and Dave Gibbons, the graphic novel. And it stars Ray Fiennes, Gemma Arterton, Rhys Ifans, Matthew Good, Tom Hollander, Harris Dickinson, Daniel Brühl, Dujman Honsu, I can never pronounce that name properly, and Charles Dance. So this is a star-studded cast. This is a movie that is 2 hours and 10 minutes. And against a budget of $100 million, it has made $125.9 million. Now, it came out December of last year, early December 2021. So it's not doing so good in terms of making back the money. But we are going to get in it. Obviously, the Kingsman series is surrounding a secret service, a secret organization that tries to keep the peace, tries to thwart evil, and there's a whole lot of. It's a bit. You can tell it's comic book-esque. It's a little over the top in some parts, in the action and in some of the portrayal of the bad guys, etc. But this one, the Kingsman, is more grounded in reality because this is a prequel, as you mentioned, and this is during the events leading up to World War I and during World War I. So there are a lot of political and historical figures in this movie. We have Tsar Nicholas of Russia and his family. We have King George. We have Rasputin, Wilhelm of Germany. Who else we have? We have a whole bunch of historical figures from Dan Kitchener. He's a real person. Archduke Ferdinand, he was a real person. His wife, obviously. The U.S. President Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
Right. He was the president of the United States. So, this one is more grounded in reality because of the historical importance. And we are going to get in it. Basically, follows the plot of This being a prequel to the Kingsman Service, the Secret Service. So there's no Kingsman organization. The Kingsman is just a tailor shop, and the heroes need to thwart the machinations of someone called the Shepherd, who is trying to essentially start a world war. So be careful again. This is spoiler alert territory. Now we're gonna get into the movie. We're gonna talk the things and let you know what this is about. So this is your spoiler warning. No, Mark?
Yes, sir.
No, you would have obviously watched all the Kingsman movies.
Yep.
This one being the third one. What did you think about the Kingsman?
First off, it as you said in our little preamble there, it's grounded. It's a more grounded story. The first one, action was over the top. Plot was comical at best. You had Samuel L. as the antagonist, and
he was over the top.
He was over the top. Portrayal was over the top, but you know where it is. You were in for a good time. The second one, I think they took they tried to capture on the success from the first one with a lot of the same story beats and stuff. It could be hit or miss. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was that bad. I wouldn't say it was that good either. It was middling, which is our favorite term here. We ain't used that in a while, but it was middling. So they took this. They went a more grounded storytelling this time, and as you said, for the historical aspect of it, you can't have a lot of fantastical gadgets and shit like that going on. So I get it. I will say, even though I knew it was a prequel, I was still kind of surprised at how grounded it was. I thought they would have tried to keep some of the over the top essence of it, but again, that's probably my bad with just going in with expectations of the movie. But it did a great job of showing you the horrors of war. They didn't pull any punches in this one. They show you there was a battle on No Man's Land where they had to retrieve some vital information, and at some point the Germans, but the Alliance force or whoever, because I guess it would have been Alliance at that time, and they had to go into hand-to-hand combat on No Man's Land. If you know what No Man's Land is, it's just literally a plot of land between the two trenches of the Germans and the Allied forces, and nobody crosses. It's just death and despair and mines and shit like that. And these people are fighting hand to hand, and the what would eventually be which is the son of the main protagonist. He was often wanting to go off to war. He wanted to go and fight and help and whatever. And then when he realized the combat, like how really serious it is, it hit home that I don't want to be here. Like this ain't
a place to be.
This ain't shits and giggles. Like this ain't for me. And I will say that I'll give them kudos for that, for making it look so serious. Because I mean, I don't think they had the heads up of what's gonna happen in Ukraine, but like a lot of people think that war is all this glamorous shit. It really isn't. And
for your country and all sorts of things. Sound patriotic and poetic.
It sounds good, but when you get shot, bring you back on it.
When you can see the white of your enemy's eyes.
Yeah.
Shoot, or when you don't see the white of your enemy's eyes and you're seeing your brethren cut down.
Like, so and there's even a scene where they kind of put me back to Saving Private Ryan, where Iman is on top with the knife, and I'm like, yeah, this shit is like this ain't for you though. Like,
and then in that scene too, and Iman had to apologize to the guy because he was fighting a German soldier.
Yep.
And then two other German soldiers had just defeated one of his comrades and was coming for him. So he had to make a decision. Iman was pleading for his life. The German soldier was.
You can see that he was young. Mm-hmm. Like this, he's a hardened veteran. Like again, war is just anyhow numbers. So numbers. He literally had to make a business decision: kill this fella and try to fight these two, or leave him, and then I'm going to get killed one or the other. So kudos for them for showing you the horrors of war. Outside of that, pacing was a little slow. This was a slow burn, like No Time to Die. but it was still a slow burn. And again, I guess you're now setting things in motion and showing you how they get the Kingsman service to be, as it started with a lot of it started basically with the help, the servants, the maids, the butlers, and stuff like that. That is how the service start. And I get it. And when you think about it, those people go unnoticed. Like those people can make very good spies, gather intelligence. You say things in front of them because they almost blend into the background. They become part of the background. You don't notice them. You only need to notice them if you need something. So they would make a good spy network. Uh, I feel like I saw the unmasking of the antagonist before it happened, because there's a scene where he says the spy, his mole in
British intelligence.
the British intelligence, and they're like, well, it gotta be this man here, because really and truly,
and
ain't nobody else.
And he did a little sinister laugh. But you know how we know it was a bad guy? You know how we know? Know how you know he was a bad guy? Because I kind of had my suspicions. But that guy does not play good people.
The thing is, I can't say that I've seen
him.
That
man don't play.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay, well,
what was the movie? I can't remember what was the movie he was in, but there was a movie where he played a noticeable bad guy. I could look it up real quick. Matthew Good played.
Matthew Good.
Man playing that Matthew Good. He was he was the enemy in you know who he was? Ozymandias in The Watchmen.
Okay.
Right. So when I
see it now. I see it now. Yeah, I can see it.
When I saw him, I was like
nah. Yeah. All right, got some suspicions, but again, I'm not gonna accuse the Kingsman series of being highbrow. I mean, I'm not. It's not a diss to the movies. They know what they are and they embrace it. So it's not like they want to go and reveal a big who's done it and you gasp and be like, oh, we missed that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want that. This is like the big Scooby Doo reveal when you realize it was the neighbor all the time. You know, but I think they could have done that. They could have hidden that part a little better.
There we go. Hey, a different actor for me, boy. That man will never play a good part for me.
There was a few parts in there that to me was like, really, like this like, I mean, all right, I'm a big historical buff. I mean, history in a big time, but the whole Rasputin angle and him liking little boys and that sort of thing, and that whole scene, I was like,
I mean,
is it like not saying I have a problem if he was or whatever, but like I think like in the overall scheme of the overall tone of the movie, I think that scene and then the scenes after that where he's healing the guy's leg, the Oxford's leg. Like to me, that was a little out of place for the type of like storytelling they were going for. I know you wanted some humor, but I think that in the tone of the movie, like just didn't fit. And I was saying that part like, but how we get here? Like, all right, cool if he is, that's all right, cool. That's if that was his thing, whatever. But in the ground, okay, I get it. You need to get him alone so you can try to poison him. And you can use the sun as a guise and whatever. But the scene and then which led to the fight scene, I'm like, all of that, like that part was a miss for me in the movie. It didn't sit well with me. Like just I think they just like put that in there just to I don't even want to say representation, but it did.
No. That wasn't representation. I think they put it in. I think first and first I agree with you 100%. I think they put that in there because they needed to. Rasputin is a very
despicable man.
No. He was a very important person in history,
Mm-hmm.
Russian history, and the transition of power in Russia back then. He was a very influential figure, and it would have been a travesty if you had him as just background dressing and he just did these machinations off screen. So they had to kind of purport his mysticism and just certain things, because I remember reading sometime that, because unlike you, I watch these documentaries and read about them and stuff. But it was said that Rasputin used to take a little poison to build his immunity, because he living in end times,
Oh
being poisoned.
no!
So
I think you misunderstand what I'm saying.
no, I'm not misunderstanding what you're saying. I agree with you. I'm saying, but I think that scene was put in to give, as you said, to interject a bit of humor, a bit of levity into the movie,
Okay.
but also to give Rasputin his moment in the movie, because he was such an important character in the early 20th century Russia and stuff like that. So to me, they needed to have you have Rhys Ifans playing that part. Why not have Rasputin have his moment? He's a very eccentric, eclectic type of individual in real life, and he was seen as almost like people bought into his mysticism, right? So I get why they put it in. I just gotta do without it.
That's what he's saying. The acting was pretty good. For what it is, like I don't think anybody can get nominated for an Oscar or an Academy Award, but for what it is really good. I mean, the CGI that had a one part that I was like, all right, we know that's so CG when he climbed up the mountain and jumped on the goats and all that. Like, yeah,
they had a real goat in that scene, not a real one.
They had a real goat, they had a real man, and that's fine. As always with the Kingsman movies, the choreography was on point. The cinematography and the fights were good. The last battle between the antagonist and protagonist, they did some really cool shots from like the hill to the sword, and it was really really cool. And I dig what they were doing, and I get where they were doing, but I think this movie could have been 20-30 minutes shorter, maybe. But overall, I take it for what it is. I don't put too much stock in it. I didn't. I'm not disappointed in the movie. I'm just like, all right, cool, a good little 2 over 10 minute romp. Well, I don't know if you really want to call it a good 2 over 10 minute romp, but it's a good. You sit down, you watch it, cool. You understand the motivations for creating the Kingsman service and how it happened and that whatever, and then you get to the point where is now getting to the point where we know what it is from the previous two movies. So I mean, I'm interested to see if they're gonna pick up from where they left off, because there is a little post credit scene. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah. Right. So I don't know if they're gonna pick up
large post credit scene.
post credit scene. You know what I mean? But I don't know if they're gonna pick up from there and run with it, or if they're gonna go with a whole different direction. I mean, personally, you could pick it from there, because I'd be interested to see how they would have affected the how that part of
World War
history.
II, yeah.
Yeah, it'd have been real cool to see how they interjected and shaped it and whatnot. So I look forward to it, but it's not gonna be a must see as it come out sort of thing, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Trust me, I understand what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah.
So for me, let me start from what you just said and come backward. There is supposed to be a sequel called Kingsman: The Blue Blood, and that is supposed to be is right now early development still, obviously, because they just finished the movie. So they're looking to shoot that at the end of this year, release next year. No details on it so far. They did say that they want this to be a sequel to the Colin Firth movies. Actually, I'm reading here, Colin Firth and Taron Egerton will reprise their roles from previous films. So it looks like they're going back to
present day.
Yeah, because really and truly the graphic novels are based on the present day. So but what I would say is, in my take on it, right? I agree with your analysis 100%. I thought that the movie, I enjoyed this one more than the other ones because it was grounded. I am a history, like a armchair history buff, and I read I read about certain characters in history. I watch the documentaries, etc. So it was very interesting to see, especially like the beginning of World War I and how that all started, the death of Archduke Ferdinand, and how Germany interjected themselves into the whole shebang, and Britain being in there, and then they needed Russia to get involved, and then the Americans. So it was interesting to see how, from their take in this world, how they would have imagined the Kingsman service
working
their part. And to me, it was pretty straightforward motivations, right? Because it's already written in history, because it's something that nobody wants. Well, certain people didn't want World War, so it's about stopping it. I ain't gonna lie to you, Mark. I'll be very honest with you. The sun threw me off in this movie because there's a moment, and we're gonna spoil it. I can't explain, but we're gonna spoil it in this part, so beware again. The son is killed.
Yeah.
Right? But the reason why it threw me off is because they placed so much importance. He was there at the beginning.
Yeah,
the wife
boy.
made a promise to not have him join war, and his son did join war, and he even the father, through his nepotism, got the king involved to get him into kind of a cushy job in the army, but then he kind of tricked the situation and switched places with another man. He ended up on the front lines. He ended up on a very dangerous mission, and he ended up losing his life for it. And I remember the exact moment where he got shot and was killed.
You can't forget that.
Yeah, I was like, so why did you place so much importance on the son? But then it was quickly brought back to the son was not the protagonist. The protagonist is Ralph Fiennes, Ralph Fiennes, right? And that's the Duke of Oxford. And also, too, he's a driving force to why start the Kingsman service. And I think that, is when you were when you started to talk about the horrors of war and driving home the points of war, I think that is exactly why I know you helped me to even see why his death is exactly why, and it drives home the point of war, especially in the circumstances with which he died. He literally went through a lot, and he did accomplish the mission, but through a misunderstanding, he loses his life, right? But he went through hell, hours of hell, where he several times almost lost his life, and then he lost his life
when he made it back to safety.
When he made it back to safety and he was successful in his mission, he lost his life. So it to me it tells a very important story, because back then, in that time, the dying for your country was so seen as above everything else during wartime, and they kept reinforcing it through the movie, right, with the Latin phrases and how eager he was to join war. He just wanted to lend his body, his mind, his spirit to defending his country. And when that start realization, when he got there, and he literally was surrounded by death, and surrounded, like, having almost lost his life and having to kill men with his blade up front and close and personal.
Boy.
He didn't want. He changed his mind immediately. He didn't want that war. He wasn't about that life no more. He was completely wrong.
He literally was in the arms of a man that got his leg blown off, crying, saying he did not want, like if you don't take anything from that movie, like that one scene, that one shot was like, I think that was the most powerful thing in the whole
movie.
Movie. It encapsulates, like, there's a man who had to use the Union Jack as a tourniquet to stop from bleeding out, being the positive force to a man that just survived a hand-to-hand fight. And I'm like nobody wants this. Nobody wants this bullshit.
Nobody don't want war. Nobody want war. And to me, as I said, it kind of threw me off when he first got shot. It's like, but they've spent so much time building up that son and his character, but then he dies. But then, through thinking about it and then seeing the rest of the movie and then just hearing you say it was like, yeah, I understand now why he had to die, because one, nobody wants war. I care what you tell me. Soldiers, like the higher ups, may want war, but the men that go in the trenches about that life, and yes, it's very glamorized, especially when you have propaganda telling you, like, come on, fight for your country and enlist now and do the training and this and that.
That it's a propaganda. You know what popping in mind? Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Would you like to know more?
Yeah. Enlist now. Do you want to know more?
Do you want to become a citizen?
Yeah. So around that time, a lot of people, war was glamorized. You defending your country, everything like that. But when you're on the front lines, then ain't glamorous about it. You know what I mean? That's the last place you want to be. It's the first place you want to be when you're at home, but when you get there, it's the last place you want to be, right? So, So this, I just had to give that little soliloquy about that because I think that was very poignant and very important, and I did not expect that in a Kingsman movie. I did not expect that in a Kingsman movie. By and large, I was not offended by the shots. The cinematography was pretty good. It was decent. It was good. It was good. I won't say decent. It was good. It was good cinematography, and knowing the lineage of Ben Davis and the movies he came from, it makes sense why it looks the way it looks, right? Especially him being a Marvel aficionado, shot a lot of Marvel movies and stuff like that. The music, we didn't talk about the music. I didn't mention the guy that made the music because to me the music was forgettable. I can't. It didn't stand out for me at the time of recording this. We literally just watched the movie, and I can't say that the movie stood out to me in any which way. I would say what threw me off when they talk about the acting is that I don't know if you realize, but throughout the movie, I was looking at King George, his cousin Wilhelm, and Tsar Nicholas, and I was saying these three men look real similar. And it was played by the same man. It was all played by the same man, right?
I didn't even. Well, I guess. Yeah. Look at yeah.
Because you know when I realized when it was like, no, this is enough. Like it was bothering me throughout the movie, and there was a point where at the memorial for the son, King George was saying on there, but when they did a close up of him, I was like, that's Tsar Nicholas. What he did?
Exactly. Yes.
So then I had to really look it up and say, and it confirmed, like, yeah, he playing all three of the parts, right? Because I think what threw me off is, they all remember early on in the movie, they all three of them stood up next to each other, and they were different heights and different sizes and different makeup, and it was like, you know, you ain't paying no mind or whatever. So I would say that was well done. Kudos to Tom Hollander for that part. He played that part well, and all three of them. And you know, I did a look up, even though I did read about a lot of them. I didn't know that the three of them were cousins in real life, nor did I realize that King George and Tsar Nicholas they could pass for brothers. They look really, really alike. So that was very interesting to me. I like the accuracy, the casting of the characters. Like Reese playing Rasputin was a perfect casting to me. Obviously because that was before a time where you had video. He did look the part of Rasputin. Archduke Ferdinand did look like, you know, Archduke Ferdinand from in real life. They took some liberties with some of the other castings, like Charles Dance playing Kitchener. I think they wanted Charles Dance playing that role more so than a person that looked like Kitchener. But
it's still got a little star power. Yeah,
you still need a little star power. By and large, I like Mata Hari was the woman. Right? I missed that in the movie after I did research for it. I was like, oh, she played the Mata Hari. That's cool, right? So, and for those of you that didn't know, Mata Hari was a spy back in the day, a German spy, and you know, used to seduce the allies and stuff. So, by and large, I thought the movie was good. It was decent for what it was. I think because it was grounded and because it's a personal bias, obviously because I'm into history and stuff like that, I do think I enjoyed this more than the other two movies. Not saying the other two movies were bad, because I enjoyed them for what they were.
Exactly.
Right? But I enjoyed this a bit more because of it being grounded in reality and because of the Easter egg, the post-credit scene. I want to see how that would play into World War II, especially since they're committed to peace, and World War II was not a lot of peace for a long time. No. It was a lot of violence for a long time. So, I mean, I'm not offended by the movie. I would say I agree with you. The pacing was kind of off. That Rasputin scene was a bit slow because, like you, I was there in the middle of it, like, how we get here, right? Like, and to me, I understand interjecting like, oh, he like young boys or whatever, but then he switched to the father now,
and then the whole healing the wound thing, and I was like,
and the whole licking up the man's leg and thing. I was like, why are we here? But sure, I mean, to me that could have been whittled down. I'm not saying that the motivations or the scene itself in totality should have been cut, but
exactly,
I had a lot of parts in it that went on that it was like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Agreed.
I do think that the scene with the son going off to war, fighting the war, and losing his life, while it was impactful and was necessary in telling the horrors of war, I still feel that it was a bit. I would have held that down a bit. Not heavy-handed, but I would have held that down a bit too.
Okay.
Right? That's a personal opinion. The special effects coming on to the end was rough. I ain't gonna lie to you. Special effects were rough, especially down mountain. They had a lot of scenes where it was like, yeah, this is green screen, blue screen, whatever screen you want to see.
The man jump up goes. The man jump up goes.
But having said that, though, the scene with the plane when he was jumping out the
Different,
plane
yeah.
and they had a problem, like I saw a lot of practical effect in that, and I am curious to see what in that was CG versus practical effects. I was looking at that and said I can tell, and to me that's the hallmark of good
Go
special
CG.
effects.
Yeah, good CG.
Right. But then the goat and everything like that, and certain things were predictable. Like I know the goat that got his horn cut off was gonna be like, yeah, look at you, look, right? But by and large, I'm not offended by the movie. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good way of turning off your brain for 2 hours and 10 minutes.
That's the way I felt about it too. Yeah, that's how I feel about
I
it.
mean, we have definitely watched worse. We've definitely watched worse. So, Mark, what would you rate The Kingsman out of? What we can rate it out of 5 golden circles? No,
the emblem that has got the little K.
Yeah.
I would give it. Honestly, I'm kind of in the middle of this. Like, I'm not too high.
Middling?
And it's not even middling because I like the movie, but it's a bad movie overall. It's like for me, it's right in the middle. There's nothing too high, there's nothing too low about it. So I really got to come in at like 2.5 because again, the fight scenes, the choreography there is good all throughout the scene, the movie. I mean, Rasputin fight
was hard. Was
hard.
Because he was putting in the Russian
ballet.
Yeah.
That was hard. That was an excellent use of that and stuff. But again, the pacing, which leads to time. And again, as much as I just talk about the Rasputin fight scene, the lead up to it was, to me, convoluted and a little too much heavy-handed. But let me not say heavy-handed. It didn't make sense in the theme of of what they were doing. I know the British humor is very dry and whatnot. I could have done with the occasional one-liner because we know British humor. But I got come in at 2.5. That's my review. That's my opinion.
Well, for me, I agree with all of your points. For me, the pacing was a bit off. The special effects at some points were a bit off. And then there were some choices that didn't necessarily make sense. What I would do is commend the themes, the heavy-handedness, particularly in the ills of war and the importance of why we don't want this world war, putting you into that mindset back in early 20th century when that was a thing. People wanted to go off to war, but people didn't really want that action, and how important it was to avert a long-lasting war.
Yep.
I thought that the acting was pretty good. I thought the scenes were pretty good. I thought that while the special effects was good, I think in sometimes the special effects was bad or noticeable.
Yeah.
The choreography, I do agree, the fight scenes were pretty good. But the reason why I'm gonna give it higher than your 2.5, right? I'm gonna give it 3.5, and the reason why I'm gonna give it 3.5 is because of the groundedness of it, and because of the history element of it, and because personally that
is, you got bias.
I got bias. I got bias, and I got bias, right? So for me, I'm gonna give this a 3.5. I enjoyed the movie for what it was. Would I recommend people to watch it? Sure, if you
into that.
If you got 2 hours and 10 minutes to kill, and you,
quite honestly, I feel like this is good. This is good, like background noise. Like, there's some movies use.
All right, well, we could create a new category. We could call this background noise. Filler.
Filler,
just in case you have something to do, like mow a lawn or
Yeah.
See a man about a horse.
See a man about a horse.
Yeah, if you gotta see a man about a horse, you need to.
It might be the chill aspect of Netflix and chill. You know what I mean?
Right. If you need to,
one or 2 hour movie.
Yeah. If you. I mean, yeah. I mean, would I recommend somebody going to pay to see this? Probably not. But it's not a bad time if you don't go and watch it. I mean, depending on how much you pay, or depending on, like, if this was on Netflix, sure, you could watch it.
Or like you said, if you kind of like into the historical aspect of it, like you just see, it would appeal to those kind of people.
Yeah. So yeah, The Kingsman. That has been The Kingsman.
Yes.
And we have reviewed it. So Mark, take us home, brother.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys for joining. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that we got coming on the pipeline. And as always, be safe and drink your water and mind your business.
And don't lose your head. I don't know.
I'm saying. Peace.